So we are looking here at greetings and welcoming rituals, but I'm going to redefine ritual because it presupposes that it's going to be something, their actions are going to be happening the same way all of the time. Okay, a series of actions that are going to be happening at the same time in the same way. But a porphyry is actually actions that are performed not necessarily in the same way, because as Rauri has pointed out, regionally, there are a whole lot of things that happen differently. So it's a ceremonial thing, but it's not a ritual, okay? Strictly a ritual. When we, if you're looking at the screen, you can see that there are, this is beautiful, this is at Te Papa, the National Museum in Wellington. And it's a house, a wharenui, a house within a house. And you can see here the forecourt. It's a beautiful thing. The artists, the musicians, the writers all came together to ensure that this was a beautiful place, not only for artifacts, but also for people to meet and greet. And when we are looking at the regional aspect of porphyry, I'm going to take you back to where these artists actually belonged, where they've come from. They had their genesis here in humble places like this. So they all have their humble beginnings, these wonderful artists, writers, musicians, and Tauwhara Marae welcomes the world. This is where I come from. This is my marae. It is carved with the stories of the people who have left, who have departed. It is a humble place. And when we look back, and when we take a look at all of these beautiful artifacts, carvings, and the stories that go with them, they all come from this background. They are proud to come from this background. So to all the nations that have joined us today, Tauwhara Marae welcomes you to this presentation. Porphyry has its origins in the creation story, when Papa Tuanuku and Ranginui, Papa Tuanuku is Earth Mother, and Ranginui were separated by their children. And this is represented in the poor, in the darkness, the unknown. And a porphyry is to plait together to all of those unknown factors when we meet. It takes us from the world of unknowing to the world of light. And as we see in this one, and this is in my area, this is actually the view I get from my house at dawn, to see the world of light emerging. And that's what happened. So if we look at the porphyry, we can look at the te pō. Te pō is the world of night or darkness. And when we go into the wharenui, we can see the separation from the world of darkness to the world of light. And this is the forecourt at Tauwhara, where it represents that part of the porphyry that says, this is unknown. We could be on unknown territory. And we walk through to the world of light. The porphyry consists of around 6 major elements, I'll call them. And the first is the karanga. If we deconstruct the word karanga, we get ka, which is energy, and ranga, which is to weave that energy together. Okay, it's simple but not simplistic. After this, after the karanga, and everyone walks into the marae, or into the whare, into the house, whai kōrero will take place. And there are components of whai kōrero that Rawiri can enlighten us on.
So the whai kōrero speaks to an elevated type of oratory. It captures the essence of acknowledging those who have passed on and also those who are gathered. It seeks to find out who are the people who have arrived in front of you at your marae, at your place of gathering, at your event, at your ceremony, etc. So the whai kōrero, along with the karanga, look to not only learn more and interrogate the reason and purpose for being there in that event, but also who are the people who are gathered there, because the whai kōrero is also about interconnectedness and gaining a connection between orators, from those on the visitors and those on the home side, and also their ancestors who are gathered there as well. At times, depending on the occasion, they are done outside, or sometimes they are done inside the meeting house. Tēnā koe.
Tēnā koe, Rawiri. Now, so always after the oratory has taken place, we sing. There is a song to support, a Waiata to support the speech. Now, the Waiata can be of many forms. It could be old, traditional Waiata. They could also, right through to the contemporary. But a lot of Waiata actually tell stories. They tell the story of the home folk, or if you're a visitor and it's your turn, it'll tell a history of where they've come from and how, and the interconnectedness between the groups that are meeting. Now, the koha is a gift that the visitors take to the marae. In former times, in the olden days, the koha was usually in a form where food was taken. These days, they've modernized it to represent the food with coinage, or finance, money, that sort of stuff. So the koha itself has changed from what was traditionally a food gift or presentation of food to now coinage. COVID has changed this tradition somewhat. We used to, prior to COVID, was always the hongi, where you shared breath by touching noses. Okay, but these days we're looking at this type of thing, where the handshake, or not even the handshake, a fist bump, is generally the mode of saying it is happy. We are very happy to share this occasion and learn so much about the people who we are greeting. One of the common elements of ceremony is the sharing of food. And this not only happens in Māori society, but in almost every society in the world. So this is a common element amongst all cultures. But this is food that has been prepared in a modern, what we call a modern earth oven, a modern hangi. So those 6 elements comprise the essential features of the pōwhiri, which you will see wherever you go in the world. If a pōwhiri is occurring, you can expect that these elements will be present. They might not be in this order, but the food will always be the last thing. The karanga will always be the first. And in between, the whai kōrero even changes. But always the whai kōrero is delivered by men. The oratory is delivered by men. Kia ora. Simply, that's what the pōwhiri is all about. Thank you.
Well, thank you. So when I was in New Zealand, and one of the reasons why I asked you to do this presentation is because I actually experienced this, and it was an amazing experience. And we actually did rub the noses and share the breath. And I've been wondering, what did COVID do to this? I'm very happy to hear that you were able to make it safer. But one of the things that I experienced back then was that when you have a group of people coming to meet another group of people, you let the women go in front and do the singing. So if you could just say briefly a little bit about that.
For the men walking along, the women usually are accompanied by the men at their side. Okay, so there's that element of protection, if you like. Men accompany women side by side. Rawiri, e kōrero a?
I think it's important to understand that in Māori society, the nature of men and women and the roles that they play within these ceremonies or within these rituals, they are a part of who we are and how we have been brought up. So the fact, it's hard to put it in English actually, because the idea of protection and the fact that, well, our women don't need protecting, but it is about the role in which both male and female play within that. In fact, that the female are what we call the whare tangata. The female are the ones, the house of the people. They are the ones who give birth. Therefore, they are the most protected and needed within the tribe. Otherwise, the tribe cannot continue. And so, therefore, the role of the males are used to ward off any of the evil, to ward off any of the things that may be there to bring harm to the people moving on, the hapu, the whānau. So it's the depth and the intricacies and the beauty really of how both male and female interact and work within probably all Indigenous cultures, but in our case within the Māori culture here in Aotearoa. So it becomes part and practice of how we conclude that.